Hello, I'm the Shino Duelist, and what better way to kick off the channel than with a deck profile for Shinobirds. Something I will do, besides showing the cards used, is go into the core concept of the deck and reasons I play the cards. Keep an eye out for my next video where I will go into the tech choices I make, optimal plays, win conditions, and matchups. Now this deck is a Shinobird Zaborg ritual deck where I make use of the Impcantation cards. And it is mainly a go second deck, but I do have plays going first. The deck is built to handle that, at least in some ways. Now first off, we'll start off with the main focus of the deck, the Shinobarons. You have 2 of the Baron and 2 of the Baroness. The Baron can, when it's ritual summoned, return 3 monsters non-targeting to the hand and summon a spirit monster from the hand if you do that. The Baroness can return 3 spell or traps to the deck, shuffle them back into the deck, and special summon a spirit from the deck. So she can actually fetch one from the deck. I like her a little bit better than him, even though her removal is a little more situational. During the end of the turn, since they're spirit monsters, they will return to the hands, and you will summon out 2 Shinobird tokens. These tokens are 1500 attack and defense, winged beast, level 4. They can be used as ritual fodder for the summon of any ritual monsters you need, as well as being pretty big beaters, honestly. They're 1500 attack, that's 3000, so if they stick around, they can hit through pretty easily. I also, by the way, I make custom Yu-Gi-Oh cards, so this is here is a custom token I made, so I hope you enjoy it. Next up, I'll go into the ritual monsters that aren't Shinobarons that I run, which would be these 3, which are Necros of Unicorn, Sauravis, the Ancient and Descended, and Amorphactor Pain, the Imagination Drake Overlord. This is a hand trap that's searchable off of Preparation of Rites. It also, in its own right, is a pretty strong card that can be summoned. It can return to hand to negate the summons of any monsters and banish them, besides being a hand trap that stops targeting. These are your first turn plays. This one negates the monster effects of all extra deck monsters, or monsters summoned from the extra deck, so that includes pendulum monsters from the extra deck, as well as Amorphactor Pain, which stops rituals, synchros, and fusion cards effects. And when it's summoned, your opponent skips their next main phase. So if you summon it first turn, they go from draw phase, or standby phase, draw phase, main phase, into battle phase, into main phase 2, and then they can start their turn. So he's a great card to just stall, get to that turn 2, and go off and kill your opponent, or set up your board more efficiently. Last 2 ritual cards I run is Impcantation Chalice Slime. He is your Manju of the deck. He can discard any card, including himself even. Summon out a Impcantation from the deck, which will let you almost always search a spell or a trap. So he's a great card. He's basically a Manju that doesn't use your normal summon. I run 2 because I like, sometimes you have to discard him for his own effect, and you want to be able to get another one from your deck later on. Total, I run 9 ritual monsters. It's a pretty good ratio to make sure that you have ritual monsters in hand. Next up, I run 3 Zaborg the Mega Monarch. This card here is a big playmaker. If you get it, you generally get him out by summoning 2 Impcantations, usually a light and a dark, or just make sure you have a light on the field, and you tribute those to tribute summon for Zaborg the Mega Monarch. This guy then pops himself, or if your opponent controls a light monster with high levels, maybe theirs, and then you can send your extra deck to the graveyard up to the number of levels he has, which is 8, and your opponent's. And if you tributed a light monster or destroyed a light monster, you can do the same to your opponent's deck and send their extra deck to the graveyard. This card by himself can end games. Generally, you would send things like Herald of the Arclight, Elder Entity to Tis to plus to add ritual cards to from your deck to your hand, or pop cards on the field. Next, I run a pretty robust Impcantation build, where generally you want to run a little bit less of the Candle and the Talismandra because you want them to be in deck, and you want to run more of the lesser ones, the Pencil Plume and the Bookstone, because when you use their effect from hand, you summon them out and you grab one of these from their decks, triggering their effects. If you use these in hands, you won't get their effects. That's why I run 3 of the Pencil Plume. Also, these 2 here, these need ritual spells in hand, which we run 4 of. These require ritual monsters in hand, so we run 9 of those. That's why I run 3 of the Pencil Plumes. I could bump up the Talismandra if I wanted to, but I may do that later, but since we run so many ritual monsters, it's a suboptimal play to have to use him to search, because it means you won't get to search a ritual monster from your deck. These 2, this one fetches from monster from graveyard, spell from graveyard. This one searches spell to hand. Next up we have the hand traps. I run 2 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, and what would be 2 Infinite Impermanence. I like running 2 of these because I don't want to draw both in hands. Same for these. And to be honest, hand traps tend to be a little bit cloggy, so I would prefer to not have too many in my deck. They can cause your incantations to not be able to trigger because you have too many hand traps and you don't have rituals or ritual spells. So I run small amount, make sure I have something in there, but you don't want too many. To Gamma Seal. Gamma Seal is a great monster for spot removal, and you can return them to hand with the Shinobaron Peacock. So you get them back and can use them again. I run 1 Amano Wado because it's the only spirit worth summoning off of the effects of the Shinobarons. He just stops all monster effects, and he stays on the field after the play has been made because he was not normal summoned. So you have a all monster effect negator, including hand traps, sticking on the field after you finish your turn. Next up, spell lineup. I run 3 Pre-Preparation of Rite. Searches out a ritual spell and a monster. And that pretty much will only search your Shinobarons and the ritual spell for that. That's what the deck's for. None of the other ones can get targeted by it because they don't have the spell that we need, because we run Impcantation Inception instead. Next we have the 3 Preparation of Rites. It's a great card. By itself it can search out the Impcantation Chalice Lime, the Necros of Unicorn, and the Cerebus. So that just lets you, that's another search, as well as if you have already ritual summoned, it can add you a ritual spell from your graveyard to your hand. So lets you go +1. Same with pre-prep. Next are the ritual spells. Run 2 Shinobird's Calling, which it's a standard ritual spell, but it lets you banish spirit monsters in the graveyard for cost for the tributes for the monsters, which is a good way to avoid having to ditch too many cards. You can discard a Shinobird ritual monster using Chalice Lime and use this to send that ritual monster you discarded, banish it, summon out a Shinobird, so you don't have to really pay the cost. Impcantation Chalice Lime, or Impcantation Inception, can let you It has an effect in graveyard. Besides letting you summon any of the other ritual monsters using incantations, you can send a incantation from your hand or side of the field to the graveyard, summon one from the deck, and add this to your hand. Usually the one you summon from the deck will let you add another card, so it can be a +2 if it's in your graveyard. It's a wonderful card. Next, run 2 Pot of Extravagance. Honestly, you don't really care too much about your extra deck. The Zaborg play is strong enough by itself that you don't really care if you hit a few of your Arc Lights or your Natisses, and the rest of the targets in there are Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries targets. So you don't care if you banish it, and the draw power is worth it. You don't want to run 3 because if you draw into it, it can be a dead card. I run 1 Trade-In, and I might cut this. Honestly, I probably will cut this for something else. But if you don't have the Pot of Extravagances, then you are certainly welcome to run Trade-Ins because you have 3 Zaborgs. You have 4 of the Shinobirds, which are all level 8. You have the 2 Gamma Seals. So you have 9 targets for trade-in to discard and keep going. And like I said, with the Shinobird Ritual spell, you can banish from the graveyard for cost. So it doesn't matter if they're in the graveyard, they do pretty well there. And lastly, round up with 2 Called by the Graves to hit the hand traps that stop us from making plays. Effect Veiler on our Shinobirds when they're summoned or other ritual monsters can be a pretty hard thing to deal with. Or on the incantations to search, so Called by the Grave is good. I feel like 3 is cloggy, but honestly I could cut the trade-in and run 3 of these and it wouldn't be too much of an issue. And that rounds out the main deck. Next up we'll go into the extra deck. It's really simple. 3 Herald of the Arclight. When this is sent to graveyard, you get a free search. Ritual monster or ritual spell. I run 2 Elder Entity Natis. You could run 3 if you like. I don't really think it's necessary unless you destroy 2 monsters or any card on the field. You can destroy 2 of them when they're sent with Zaborg because I run 2. And the rest of the cards are just whatever meta calls you want to make for the side deck, which would be Ghost Reapers and Winter Cherries. You want to run these so you can reveal, banish their extra deck. Onto the side deck. I don't have everything I need for this, but just bear with me. I would run 3 Denko Sekka. It's a great card for stopping the back row heavy decks that can really interrupt your plays. 3 Dino Wrestler Pankratops. Besides being a high level, easily summonable monster that goes second decks, he can pop those annoying cards that stop you from using spell cards like Imperial Order or Secret Village of the Spellcasters, and is an otherwise just powerful card and good removal. So 3 of him, 3 Ghost Reapers and Winter Cherries, 3 Book of Eclipse for the fields of large monsters or to stop their plays if you set this going first. Then you can return those monsters that you flip face down to the hand with your Shinobaron. Lastly, I would run 3 There Can Only Be One, which I do not have. It functions as a Goza match, but with all the monsters that we have in this deck, you really have almost no overlap for types of monsters. You've got Spellcasters, Dragon, Winged Beast, Aqua, Thunder, Rock, like pretty much everything. All of the incantations are different types, and your ritual monsters don't really overlap other than the Shinobarons themselves. The one thing you have to be careful is when you have There Can Only Be One, and you have 2 Shinobird tokens on the field, or one of them, since you have There Can Only Be One, you cannot summon a Shinobaron while you have the token on the field. Because it is a winged beast, you have a winged beast in your hand that you want to summon, you can't do that. So keep that in mind. And that about wraps everything up. I'm the Shino Duelist, and thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell if you like the video, and keep an eye out for my next video where I will go into the tech choices, optimal plays, win conditions, and matchups.